Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to talk about American Express shutdowns, what is going on with all of this and what I think the drivers are, and also generally how not to piss off American Express in 2020. Before we dive in, as always, if you want to support our channel, a very easy way to do that would be to give this a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps with that YouTube algorithm. Waller's Wallet did talk about this about a week ago, but there has been a lot of FUD going on, so I feel like it's worth discussing. So fear, uncertainty, and doubts. I've been getting a lot of questions over on Instagram, and I think it's just easier making a video discussing this rather than responding to almost 100 different people. Side note, if you want to follow our vacation in the Maldives and what we've been up to, and some pretty cool upgrades, you can see everything, go follow our Instagram. We're almost at 7,000 followers. So the reason we're talking about this is because there have been a bunch of people who had American Express accounts shut down. So if you had 4 cards, all of your cards were shut down, 5 cards, whatever amount of cards you had, they were all shut down. Some people have gotten most of their cards shut down and maybe 1 or 2 cards that weren't affected, but I feel like those are just very random and we don't know what's driving it. And also those cards might also end up getting shut down in a second wave if we do see one. The reason this is a big deal is because a lot of people run American Express setups, and out of the cards available, you pretty much have Chase and American Express being the main issuers that offer a lot of value, whether it's long-term with trifectas and stuff and keeper cards, or whether it's short-term with intro bonuses. The other major problem, so the third thing on the list, is that if you were someone who had MR points that you didn't transfer out, that you didn't use yet, you didn't really have any time to do anything with them. So if they shut you down, you just lost those points. With Chase, if they decide to shut you down, you have 30 days to move those points out and to redeem them. That's not really the case with American Express. There were some weird data points that if you called in, you were still able to transfer those points out, but other people also tried calling in and weren't given that liberty. So we don't really know what's going on. I would just consider what you've done and also whether you think you might be in the crosshairs. If you had Hilton or Delta earning cards, then those were fine because the points were already transferred out as you earned them. This sounds like pretty big news. Why wouldn't you want to talk about this? Why is it something that seems specific? The reason is because for every 1 data point of someone getting shut down, there was probably 20 data points of people who weren't affected. For a lot of people who did get shut down, they were doing specific things and being very aggressive about it. The big culprit seemed to be self-referrals, so let's say you ended up using your own referral link to sign up for a new card. That was very problematic and they got their points clawed back. Initially, people were fine with this because they figured that American Express would only claw back the points, kind of like a slap on the wrist telling you not to do that again. But with these shutdowns, there's just a lot of fear. And I think if you are someone considering stuff like this, or if you have done stuff like this, you might want to be concerned and you might want to transfer your points out sooner rather than later. There's a lot of other factors that people thought led to shutdown, and maybe they did. We don't really know what their algorithm is for this, but I think they are part of the symptoms rather than the cause. So one thing a lot of people mentioned was having multiple of the same card being something that was part of the shutdown. But if you look at some of the data points very specifically, you could see that the people who had multiples of the same card were also very aggressively playing upgrade and downgrade games in order to get bonuses. Obviously, risk and reward balancing act, so you need to see what works for you. Side note, if you're still watching and you haven't given this video a thumbs up, feel free to do that. So how do you know if you're someone who is likely going to be affected by this if there is going to be a second wave of shutdowns? I think if you're someone who self-referred and if you're someone who got their points clawed back, and also if you are someone who lost the ability to refer people using your links. So some people logged in and go to that referral section and they can no longer refer because American Express doesn't want the referrals. If you fall into this group, then I think it makes sense to transfer your points out, whether you are transferring it to a partner for airline redemptions or whether you are cashing them out using Schwab or Morgan Stanley. I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but if you have Hilton points and Delta points, those should be fine because those aren't with American Express, so they're relatively protected right now. For me personally, I would probably end up transferring them over to Virgin Atlantic because Delta premium cabins and ANA premium cabins are pretty good value there. or if you want to be a bit more specific, there's obviously a lot of choices. Etihad would be very interesting for their partners if you want to do a bit more homework. I probably wouldn't cash it out for Schwab, but that's just me. Really just depends on how you use those points. I feel like if you're running an American Express setup, you were probably trying to do these premium cabins anyways, because that's the main draw of Amex MR points. So given all of this, and given that there might be another wave of shutdowns in the future, how do you make sure that you're not going to be affected, and how don't you piss off American Express in 2020? I think there's a few things that you can do to be a bit proactive, and a lot of it just revolves around following the terms and conditions. You'd be surprised at how many people tell me that they applied for a card, got the bonus, and now they're trying to close the card, or they did close the card, and then they ended up getting their points clawed back. They get really surprised by this and angry about this in Instagram messages, and it's clearly against the terms, and American Express doesn't want people doing that. Another obvious one is people who buy things and then return them in order to get the bonus, and then afterwards they end up getting their points clawed back for pretty much the same reason. A lot of this stuff is listed directly in the terms. They saw a lot of people doing this, they didn't like it, they weren't happy with it, and they probably run a script every week, every month or so to look for these specific instances. Even if you think you're smart about it and you end up transferring your points out before they run this script, you still run the risk of just getting blacklisted from American Express or getting locked out of future bonuses. So there's a lot of people who did something wrong and they're not eligible for future bonuses. This is called the bonus pop-up. A lot of people who have gotten clawbacks end up getting that pop-up, and American Express just doesn't want to give you a bonus. There might also be some people who get the pop-up who didn't do anything wrong, and in that case, in those situations, it's likely because you don't spend enough money on American Express cards and they want you to use it more. They're really after people who are spending money because they make money from swipe fees. The main takeaways from that section is not to cancel a card within its first year, even if you don't end up getting the bonus. I just don't think it's worth the risk at this point. And also not to return anything related to the bonus because it might look like you're trying to abuse it. So for me, those are going to be red flags, and there's probably going to be different levels for this. Self-referrals, even though it's not listed in the terms, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up adding it, and it seems like it's a red flag factor given the shutdowns that we've seen. Multiple payover times might be a problem as well, but we really don't know what they're looking for. I feel like that might be a symptom rather than a root cause. Same thing with having duplicate cards. I don't really think they're after that as much as people think. It's probably people who are aggressively playing the upgrade and downgrade game more than anything else. Also, if you don't know what payover times are, they are offers that you get on some of your charge cards that give you 10,000 points. In order to sign up for this, you don't even need to use pay over time, you just need to sign up and you get those points. So some people sign up for it and then they unenroll in it and wait for another bonus and sign up again. I have no clue if it's a cause, but I really don't think it is. End of the day, I think as long as you're not overly aggressive, if you're not doing anything wrong and you're not raising a bunch of red flags, you should be fine. If you self-referred and you got your points clawed back and you also lost the ability to refer, then I'd be very concerned, but just make sure you don't do those things and transfer those points out sooner rather than later. Hopefully that was helpful, and my question for you guys is, are you someone affected by this? What do you think about this? Do you think it's fair or do you think it's not fair? Let me and the community know in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, it really helps us out. If you know anyone else who'd benefit from what we just talked about, feel free to share the video with them. It'll probably help them out, but otherwise hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.